Travis Wayne Goodsell. When filling out the paperwork, you can obtain the documents, in a PDF form from the federal courts.gov website. For civil lawsuits. I don't have it up on the screen, so I don't know exactly the email to go to or the names of all the files. But it's easy to find. The first thing you do is you get the cover sheet and you fill that out, and since it's a civil lawsuit, not a criminal one, because criminal is what a prosecutor fills out, whereas we civilians are only allowed a civil lawsuit, and so we can't put somebody in prison, but we can take them for all their money. That's the difference in criminal versus civil. And so there's two forms of civil lawsuits. One is U.S. Code 1983, I think. Mine is 85. Well, it's actually both, I think, but you can only check one. And so I selected 1985. 1983 is a one-on-one case where one individual, one organization is denying you your civil rights, and you're redressing grievances for that. 85, involves conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. Now, with the LDS Church, it's conspiracy, because it's not just the organization, it's also their agents. So there's a conspiracy that's involved where the organization either directly or indirectly orders their agents for loyalty to protect the church. And Mormons, you know very well, when you go through the temple and the covenant of sacrifice and consecration, you raise your right arm and you give loyalty to protect the church for all their crimes. And you know that's what's going on, and that's what I'll be bringing up in this case, because I myself had to give loyalty to the church, but it wasn't intended that I was going to be protecting the church of their crimes. That's the deception that they brought out. But that's why Mormons are so abusive and act out in criminal form against those who are deciding not to become Mormon or who leave the church. That's why people are attacked and assaulted and punished for leaving the church. And it's because of the criminal actions and the conspiracy that is involved in the process. So there's three things involved. The first one doesn't apply to me, so I don't have it on the form. but I put down the other two to indicate the jurisdiction. The second one is obstructing justice, intimidating party, witness, or juror. And yes, that's exactly what's going on, as the church has their agents all over Utah, in every position, in government, in society, in business. And Mormons are able to obstruct justice, preventing people from suing the church, protecting the church in criminal fashion when people try to redress grievances or try to live their lives, but the church members want them punished for not being Mormon and not following the Mormon way. So like the homeless get punished here in Utah for being poor. LGBTQ get punished for being LGBTQ. So yeah, and blacks are punished for being black. Women are punished for being women, and it goes on and on. And so that's part of the obstruction of justice, is that the legislature and the attorney general, and even down into the police officers, the city mayors, all are involved in obstructing justice to protect the church. And so that's bad. Bad. Okay, and the third section is depriving persons of rights or privileges. So in the process of denying rights, or in obstructing justice, people are being denied their rights and privileges in this process. And so rights to life, liberty, and property, and other rights that are guaranteed in the Bill of Rights, in the Constitution, and the other amendments. And so people are not being treated equally if they're not Mormon and in good standing with the church. Alright, so that's the jurisdiction is what that's called. That's where you select either U.S. Code 1983 or 1985. And in this particular case with the LDS Church, it's 1985 in my case. Because I'm living here in Utah and having been born and raised Mormon, and then coming to Utah in 1996. So yes, I was an outsider, and so yes, I've been discriminated against of my right to worship according to the dictates of my religious views. Isn't that interesting? Because all of Utah Mormons and outsiders, we all know there's a different religion. Even though it's the same organization that controls it all, there are different religions. Utah Mormons think completely differently than outside Mormons. Because outside Mormons don't have Mormon peers to grow up with. So we pursue religion through our own study rather than traditions among our peers. And that's the key difference. Utah thinks that they are right in what they do based on their traditions that they've grown up with. And being here in Utah, they've had direct contact with the prophets from the beginning, and their abusive nature and their criminal responses to things, and having to trust when you see a brothel being built by Brigham Young. You have to just say, well, the church is true. He's just, doing that for the weaker of the saints. You come up with excuses, justifications for what the prophets do. And yesterday, a Mormon tried to make a comment on one of my videos to try to weasel his way in. And I know exactly what he was doing. He's trying to build relationships of trust through pacification and flattery. That's not how you do it. Because if you've read your Book of Mormon, pacification and flattery, deception, and anger are part of Lucifer's tactics. They're not God's tactics. And so when you're going to try to flatter me and pacify me, you ain't getting anywhere. I don't respond to that well. I immediately have defenses pop up all over when people pull that stunt on me. And so if you're going to build relationships of trust, you've got to be sincere, you've got to be genuine. And the tip-off in this Mormon was that he started off saying, I agree with some of what you say. And he put some in all caps. And so, yeah. And so I allowed his comment, because that's the way I'm doing it. I screen everybody's comments now. I'm not going to go through the hassle of accepting everything and then trying to monitor behavior of people. So this time I'm screening everything, and I'm not letting people see the likes and dislike numbers. And so, yeah, we're going to control the Russian bots and not allow people to obstruct justice, intimidate party, witness, or juror. See how that works? And so, yes, YouTube has finally changed to protect people who upload videos. But that wasn't the case in my other channel. YouTube let me hang myself with the manner in which they had it set up. And so when I responded to this guy, he was trying to talk about how his feelings let him trust that the prophets are godly men. And so I responded and said, in short, you can't trust feelings, they're unreliable. The scriptures themselves indicate the science of horticulture to use in order to identify truth about what somebody else says and who they are as a person, whether they're good or evil. And in Matthew chapter 7, if you're wondering, science of horticulture? By their fruits you shall know them. Fruits has to do with horticulture. That's the science of horticulture for identifying truth. So truth is not some spiritual thing. The scriptures directly indicate that it's a scientific process. Oh, isn't that interesting? And so yes, the religion I grew up in was science-based, not some supernatural, unknowable by mankind, spiritual opinion, feeling, belief base. And that's the distinction, because Utah Mormons are feeling, opinion, belief-based. I, however, read the scriptures and identified science-based religion. And because it's science-based for me, I identify the truth because I'm able to replicate the word in my life. And I go, yep, sure enough, that's correct. Yep, sure enough, that's correct. Yep, sure enough, that's correct. Because there's lots of words, you've got to replicate them all. And so Mormons in Utah, nope, tradition. We wait for the prophets to tell us what to believe. And our peers also help us as to what we're supposed to feel, what we're supposed to believe, what we're supposed to think. And it's dangerous in Utah because crimes are justified in Utah when it's all feeling based. You're not Mormon? I don't feel good about you. That's the danger. That's the crime. And that's what the lawsuit's all about, in summary form. Okay, so that's the opening part, is identifying the code and jurisdiction.